Hi guys, this is part 2 of the EFT tapping points, and this one in particular is about the side of the eye, and we're going to go dive deep into that because it's so interesting and it may be of great value to you to know why we tap on this point. And so sometimes having a bit more information means we are going to be tuning into this even more deeply when we are in a tapping session or when you are thinking about how you're moving in the world. It can really help. So the side of the eye is a profound intersection of physical relief and emotional liberation. In EFT, this point is primarily used to address deep anger, resentment-fueled anxiety, and a stubborn resistance to change. In traditional Chinese medicine, it is linked to the gallbladder, and it is also paired with the liver, the wood element. It begins at the corner of the eye and it zigzags across the head, extensively travels down the flanks of the body and ends at the fourth toe, which is interesting because everything in our body is connected. The emotional archetype of this tapping point is anger, decision-making, and judgment. The liver and gallbladder are responsible for the smooth flow of qi emotions. When the gallbladder qi is blocked, it manifests in very specific emotional patterns, like rage, bitterness, resentment, and a sense of being stuck. The gallbladder is also the organ for decision-making, judgment, and clear vision. And when you are blocked, you will experience indecisiveness, mental fog, and or a rigid judgmental view of the world, a bit like my way or the highway. The remedy is by tapping on this, it opens up a pressure valve, and the amygdala finally gets to say it's okay to stop. We do not have to go on guard. It helps us transform the heat of anger into perspective, flexibility, and the ability to move forward with a clear vision. And so this is really, really important to know that when we are tapping on this, we're letting go of anger. And so there's just a little bit more here. The psychological and somatic application, processing resentment and shoulds. Now I find this really interesting because should's one of those words that I say to people they don't need to have in their life anymore. They can change it to could. And resentment is often defined as drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It is a dense, heavy emotional weight. So this point, the side of the eye point, is highly effective for processing grudges and past hurts, unforgiveness that you hold toward others or yourself, the shoulds, rage at how things should have been instead of what they actually were or are, fear of change. The gallbladder governs planning. And if you're terrified of taking a new step, tapping here dissolves the irrational fear of the unknown. And for those who've suffered lots of anxiety, panic attacks, and just people who they want to stay where they are because they're too scared to move, the fear of the unknown is a totally real thing. But if we can tap on it and reduce the effects it's having on our bodies and our minds and on our emotions, we're going to move forward a lot easier. So when you have blockages on the side of the eye point, you may need to focus heavily on this point. You have chronic tension in your jaw, you have headaches or migraines, feeling bitter, cynical, or easily irritated by minor inconveniences, an inability to forgive someone even when you logically want to let it go. So sometimes in our minds we're saying, yes, I'm doing that, but our emotional body's holding it. So this side of the eye point is really good. You could just actually think of something if you've got any of these, resentment or unforgiveness, and just tap on it gently while saying that. So it is really, really useful to know extra information. So the physical location is on the bone bordering the outside of the corner of the eye. The primary emotion to release is anger, resentment, bitterness, and rigid control. Positive emotion to cultivate, forgiveness, clear vision, determination, and adaptability. Physical benefits: reduces tension headaches, eases jaw clenching, and reduces eye strain. Now, moving deeper into the sequence, when you transition from the eyebrow point, the fear, freeze point, to the side of the eye, anger, fight point, you're actually moving up the evolutionary ladder of trauma response. Often underneath deep fear lies hidden anger and having been helpless in whatever situation that was. And I know for myself, there were situations that I was in that caused terrific trauma and fear. But I was really angry at myself that I didn't make a different decision. So, that's quite common. Tapping these 2 points in sequence allows you first to melt the icy paralysis of fear and then safely progress and discharge the fiery heat of anger that was trapped underneath it. Well, I would like to think that you've learned something today, and the next time you're doing some tapping, you now know what the top of the eyebrow and the side of the eye mean, and you can go deeper into your tapping experience. Bye for now.